Hi there, I'm back. I'm Bruce, and this is what I've been calling my classroom in the forest. And if this is your first time, thanks for dropping by. And if you've seen any of the other videos, thanks for thanks for watching, really. Okay, as you know, I try to discuss three things. It's a thing, it's a person, and it's an idea. Okay, so moving along a little bit more than I have been, or quicker. The thing I want to talk about. The thing is an electric car. Electric cars are awesome. In this case, I have the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Had it now for about 4 months, and I must say, holy smoke, it's wonderful. For a lot of reasons, I wanted to have an electric car for a very, very long time, since probably 20 years. And this is the first one that fell into the realm of, okay, let's do it. And wow, it's better than I could have imagined. It's better in the winter, it's better in terms of convenience, it's more comfortable, the stereo sounds great, and I'm just, as you can tell, I'm kind of really, really happy about this thing. It was a good purchase. The performance in the snow is magical. The convenience of driving on the highway really can't be overstated. People talk about, well, you have to stop and charge a whole bunch, you have to do this, you have to do that, it's not as good as going with a gasoline model. That is just simply, in reality, it hasn't proven out. The range of the car is more than ample. The quickness of the charging is great. The convenience of charging, I mean, there's chargers everywhere that are very, very fast. Some are faster than others. They range from 50 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts, which means that really you can charge a car up in about the time it takes you to stop and go to the washroom and maybe buy a drink or something like that. A normal, natural stop that one would make on a road trip. But really, most of the driving is done, it's local, and it's charge at home. You don't even think about it. It's fine. Highly recommend an electric car. The current downside to electric cars is they're hard to get. The lead time is very, very long, and also they're not as inexpensive as I would like them to be. But that's it for electric cars. That's the thing. Okay, the person I'm going to talk about. I mulled about this for a while. Geez, I don't know. But there's a guy that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and I first found out about him maybe 35 years ago in university. As I was flipping through the textbook, there was a picture of this guy, and the caption read, Charles P. Steinmetz, engineering genius. Okay, so Charles P. Steinmetz, he's a great guy. There's a bunch of YouTube videos about his life. I suggest that you go off and watch one of those. He was the embodiment of intellect, the embodiment of charitable, the embodiment of trying to make a positive contribution to the world, and that's Charles P. Steinmetz. And he's an electrical engineer, and he invented these things called phasers, which if you're into electrical engineering design, super duper useful, super duper important, and they make some fairly a little tiny bit complicated math, and they make that easy. Phasers make things easy. They just sort of work out for you. Oh, we had a little mishap there. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Now, on the idea. Right now, the idea is this is the classroom in the forest, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but there is a bit of wildlife crawling across this board. Okay, so the idea is this, going back, the production possibility frontier or curve. There you go. We've talked about this before. Okay, and it's an embodiment of the ever-expanding human needs and desires and wants. Okay, and these are the people resources. These are the stuff resources. Okay, now, and I talked about the three things that exist in our society. There's people. That bit of wildlife found its way out of my hand. There's people, and it was quite a spectacular looking insect, I must say. There's people, and there he is, he's leaving. People, businesses, and government. Okay. The government. What is the role of government? The role of government is to maximize the well-being in society. And when you're doing this, you want to, if you're in government, you want to think about this. Okay. Now, you can pass rules, laws, and legislation, but if you consider the way we do things, the way we've done things, the way we did things in the past, the way we're going to do things in the future, you want to make some decisions, and you want to have criteria for your decisions. Okay. Now, when I was small, I was always, people would talk about my grandfather, who was actually my great-grandfather, my grandmother's father, and other relatives that I had of that generation. And what they did when they were children was mine coal. Okay. So it's about 1900, and people were not warm, or you wanted to have steamships, or for whatever reason, you needed coal, or you wanted coal. So coal was a fuel, and at that time it was perfectly acceptable to gather up a bunch of 6-year-old children, 7-year-old children, 10-year-old children, 12 years old would be fairly old actually at that time, send them into an underground coal mine with ponies and such, and they would dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and do their business and all that stuff in this underground mine, and they would not live terribly long lives, and quite reasonably frequently they would die horrible deaths. And that, at that time, that was just the way it was done. That was considered fine and dandy. And today, that's not considered fine and dandy. So when we're thinking about our politicians and the people that are running our government, and then we have this idea of the production possibility curve, the ever-expanding capacity that we have to create things, and offset or complementary to that is the human beings we always want more, this idea of more. Okay, we want to be comfortable, then we want to be stimulated in other ways, we want to have our food, we want to have all kinds of, there's this Maslow's hierarchy of ideas is another discussion of the kind of the same thing, but in the economic context, it's the ever-expanding needs and wants of people, and then there's a production possibility curve, what you can do. Okay, so in our choices, we want to think about criteria. Okay? So what is good and what is not good, or better, or worse, or bad. And mining coal with children 120 years ago, that was fine. And right now, that is not fine. Unfortunately, it still happens. Or there's child labor places, or maybe there's child labor nearby where you are, but children should be children. That's it. We should allow a child to develop and explore and have fun, because fun's good. Just keep that one in mind. Fun is good. Okay, so we talked about utility. So some things that we need in our lives are, we need transport, shelter, warmth, food, and we can make this big long list. And then we think about how these items happen. And we want to set criteria for whether the activity that's going to deliver this service, the utility, is acceptable against a set of criteria. Okay, so these days you talk about sustainability. What does that mean? Well, sustainable is something that you can keep on doing for a really, really long time, and the resources that you're consuming renew themselves, and it doesn't make that big of an impact, or the impact that it makes in a global context is acceptable, and that's sustainable. Another one is renewable. Okay, well, a resource that's renewable. One resource that I'm going to make a joke. This is comedy. Children were renewable, and at the time people didn't think of that, but well, you had more kids. You just had lots and lots and lots of kids, which maybe it's a bad joke. Okay, so sustainable, renewable, or not sustainable, not renewable, environmentally friendly, environmentally benign, environmentally catastrophic, all sorts of items like this. So in our world we have you think that the world is huge and enormous, which, well, for a person it is, but the world is constrained, and it does have in a finite capacity for certain things. It has a finite capacity to retain or to cope with heat. It has a finite capacity to really the finite capacity to exist. If you move the timeline far enough along, well, the world, okay, it doesn't exist into infinity. But the choices that we make in our lives impact the world. And then the role of government. So the role of government sets regulations, sets taxation, sets a whole bunch of stuff, and it affects our production possibility, and it affects our capacity for growth, it affects our capacity for fun. Okay, so this one is a little bit challenging, okay? Because if you happen to be a coal miner, and then someone comes along and tells you you can't mine coal anymore because it has a high incidence of workplace fatalities. That's one bad thing. It has coal has a tremendous impact on our climate, and dumping carbon into the atmosphere is just not good. Another one is coal creates it dissuades other activities that are maybe more sustainable, more productive, more renewable. As coal is just simply not renewable. Full stop. It's not the way to go. And then you have this idea of whataboutism. Someone will say, okay, we shouldn't mine coal in this place. And they'll say, well, what about those guys over there? They're mining coal over there. Yeah, but if you look at those guys over there, they're mining coal, and they're even opening new coal mines, which is not great. But what they're also have done is they've recognized that coal is not good, and so they are working feverishly to build up alternatives to coal that are actually renewable and actually sustainable and are actually benign. This is happening in parts of our world right now. It's a straight up fact. Okay, now what I've been rambling on about a bit here in the idea section is criteria. I think that might be the catchword. Criteria is that when we're having our choices and our government is implementing public policy, the things that affect all of us, they have to do it against a set of criteria. And the criteria, although they're maybe competing, like see a little bit of some of the criteria conflict might be seen to conflict, but this idea of criteria is important. So you want to have a list of criteria against which you're going to evaluate your options. That's that is kind of the idea for today. And thanks for thanks for watching. I hope maybe you made it to the end of this somewhat of a rambling adventure. But there you go. And oh, thank you to Charles P. Steinmetz for inventing phasers and a whole bunch of other stuff. There's some really interesting things about his life you might enjoy reading or checking out some other videos. That's it. My name's Bruce. It's my classroom in the forest. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, leave a comment. Tell me why. Tell me why I'm wrong. Let's get a little bit of a conversation going. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye now.